I'm just here to learn about you, Hank.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about your career, and obviously, what I'm most curious about, frankly, are the Foo Fighters and the lights that you saw. And I wondered if we could talk about that just for a few minutes today. I don't really want to get into the rest of your combat stuff because I have it here. But let me just talk about me for a second, about why I'm interested in all this. You're a very unique find for me because for 10 years now I have been working with World War II veterans, creating my artwork, etc., mostly aviators like yourself. And I have been asking about that experience to all of these men over the years, and you're the first one who I can honestly say has a distinct memory of what happened. You witnessed it yourself. And that's probably not even in here, is it?
No.
See, this is the one thing nobody talks about, right? I want you to tell me, if you can, everything that you remember about that experience. Tell me the first time that you encountered this. Did you already hear about it from other aviators before you saw it?
What's that?
The balls of light in the sky. Do you remember?
Yeah, no. I heard about it.
You heard about it before you saw them from other aviators, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what that was like when people started to talk about it.
Well, you know, it's give me a little shakes. At first, I didn't know what the heck was going on, and.
But what were the airmen saying before you even saw them? What were they saying about it?
They talked like, wonder what that is. What is that? What is that? A group of someone? I then finally it got to the point where I could look out and see them, and then I butted in. But I didn't know at first when I saw lights.
Well, when you first got into combat, you hadn't seen them during training, right?
No,
okay, so you started to hear around the squadrons people talking about lights in the sky, and they said that they were moving erratically, right? So how long was it between the time that you started to hear this from the other men to the point where you actually witnessed one yourself? How long do you think?
Not very long. I'd say that's the most 2 weeks.
So you had just arrived almost?
Yep. I arrived one day and flew my first mission day after that.
Wow. So they just throw you right into the ringer, don't they? I mean, it's time to get going, no messing.
They're to control
get going.
Your airplane. That's right.
Now, when you first got there, you weren't a commander yet.
No.
When did you become a commander?
After I became captain, which was I had about 30 missions in.
Wow. Okay. So what you're telling me is and you're talking about Europe now, right?
Yeah.
Where were you based when you first witnessed a Foo Fighter?
Oh boy, North Africa.
Wow. So you were
Tunis, near Tunis.
And you were bombing Italy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And from Italy, we also out of North Africa, we also bombed South Germany, and
well, that's a long mission.
And the Balkans.
Yep.
Yeah, we also bombed them from there. Sure, we lost a lot of airplanes that had engine shot out because it was a long way for some of us.
Yeah. How many hours flight do you think it was till you got in and got back?
About 8-9 hours.
Wow. And you couldn't refuel in the air, so that's one tank? No kidding. I didn't think you had that kind of range. That's fantastic.
Well, we caught on pretty fast.
So one thing I'm confused about, though, is in Europe, in most of Europe, you guys were doing daylight raids.
Yes.
So you were seeing these balls of light during the day?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
It was like a reflection of
like
something.
A ball, like gleaming.
Yeah.
In the history books right now, there's a night fighter squadron who's the one that really saw the majority of this. They were Black Widows, I think. Were you close to those guys? Did you ever see them or anything? I think it was this 417th. Right after.
Yeah, I saw the Black Widows.
Yeah. Okay, so these guys go out only at night. They had
Yeah.
black airplanes. They had radar. They would run with no lights.
That's right.
So there was no mistaking that they were seeing it a lot. So now I'm really interested because you're telling me these things were noticeable during the day.
Yeah, but they were noticeable. But for somebody that didn't know, it was just to him.
You may not see it, may not recognize it as a light from the ground or something else.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But okay, they might have been flying daylight missions, but they may have taken off before
And
sunrise.
come back at.
Oh, yeah.
They might have. They took off
Took
before
off in
sunrise.
the dark.
Yeah,
So you
Or
were
they came
at
back.
in the early part of the day and the late part of the day. It might have been getting dark.
it was.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes.
So you had crewmen coming around inside the ranks saying, "We're seeing these things. We don't know what they are," but there was a sense that they were intelligently controlled, right?
Yes.
And at that point, you're thinking, "What's Hitler up to?" Because that's pretty high tech stuff. Whatever he's doing, right?
That's right. That's right. And when we would go to be interrogated after a mission,
Debrief.
debriefed, and we see if we had seen him. It seemed the American that was taking the information didn't seem to two hoots in
You
you know
didn't
what.
seem interested, right? Which is very confusing.
Yeah, it was to me.
Because I mean, you guys already had enough going on up there. You didn't want more
My
confusion.
God, no, I didn't want more.
I mean,
Well, I'd sit there in the cockpit and look out, and we're on the bomb run. And I said, my God, I got to fly through that to drop my bombs. And the entire sky was gone. It was just exploding
yeah, it's unbelievable.
anti-aircraft fire. And you hit that, and you whoop, whoop, whoop. And you could hear the pieces tearing through your airplane.
Oh boy.
It scared you.
Oh my God, it had to be horrifying.
It
And
was.
you just, well, I don't want to get into why you kept doing it yet because that's not the part of the story.
Yeah.
Let's stay on focused on this because you're an extraordinary man. There's no question about it.
A lot of us were.
You had, yeah, but you have bravery that not every guy has, Hank.
Well,
You know, and I'm not here to blow smoke, frankly. You know what you did. We're proud of you. It's that simple.
yeah.
Let's go back now to the first time you may have seen lights. You said you're on a daylight raid. You're focusing on the bombing run.
Yeah.
So that's not that important to you as long as you don't see it as a threat,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And that's kind of what people were trying to figure out. Is this a threat?
Yeah.
They know it's real.
Yeah.
And if you notice, it's never recorded hardly anywhere.
No.
Nobody talks about it.
No.
What did you do when you first saw it? At first you were probably, did you think it was an aircraft at first?
Well, in a sense, yes. But then I think it might be something else. And I was trying to think what it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the only one.
Mhm.
The others were just like me. What
Is that?
Yeah, you know. And we didn't know. Maybe we called stupid or something, but we didn't know.
So how was tell me more about the engagement with it. Did it ever come closer and go further away? Did it stay the same distance from you all the time?
Me, it
Yeah.
did. I don't know why, but me, it did. I won't say because it was me, no.
Right. But you had other pilots saying it came up close.
Definitely. Yeah.
Can you give me any of their descriptions?
All they would say is, well, if you had 4 or 5 guys explaining it to the guy back at the base,
Mhm.
you had 4 or 5 different angles.
Mm-hmm.
None of them could hit it right. I don't know, because I saw a glimpse of it, but paid no attention. Because I was on the bomb run,
Mhm.
and by God, I'm going to hit the target after
Well, sure. That's what's
dragging those
amazing
bombs
is.
all the way up to the target area. But I didn't pay.
But it had to be a little scary because you didn't know if it was a weapon, right?
Oh no, I'm going to be truthful with you. I was scared.
Yeah.
But I put it to the side if I could.
Yeah, which is amazing.
And on the bomb run, when you look out and see, you can't look through the flak to see the sky. You know you have to fly through that. Bomb doors open and fully loaded with bombs,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to fly through that thing.
It's remarkable that
That
it
was
must have been
enough.
absolutely horrifying. And I don't even want to take you back to that kind of fear right now, Hank. That's not what my point is.
Yeah.
But when you got into those zones that were heavy and flak, that's nearing your target.
Yes.
Did those things follow you into that flak zone too? They did.
At first they did, yes. And then all of a sudden, toward the end of my tour, I didn't see any of those. I don't know where they went, where they
Okay.
got to or anything.
Did you,
I didn't do it. That was done by the bombardier.
he actually controlled the airplane at that point.
At that point, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know that, but the bombardier sits way up in the nose.
And Hank will tell you stories that because he was so good at keeping his plane on track, his bombardier very often left the plane in control of it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You were real
He had a
good
unique
at flying that
relationship
17.
with his bombardier, and very often he kept control of the airplane.
When you finished a run, well, let me ask this. When you did go on a run, were you expected to drop all the munitions at one time?
Most of the time.
Or
yeah.
was there a drop here and a drop here?
No, that, in my 70 missions, that only happened, I bet you, once or twice, where we dropped so many here, so many
Okay. It was strategic.
there. Yeah, for me, I dropped them all on one target mostly.
Okay, so are we still daylight now, or did you always fly daylight
Always.
the whole time? Okay, so you're now witnessing these balls.
Yeah.
Are they different colors, or are they always the same?
Well, they look the same to me.
Just
Yeah.
bright?
Yeah.
Like they literally lit up, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there was no tracking light, no beacons, no nothing, just a ball.
No smoke, you know.
Nothing. No exhaust.
And actually, and I don't mean this as bragging or anything else. I took a good look at them, and I thought, well, the HELL with them.
The hell
I,
with it.
looked, I never even paid attention to them.
Well, you must have had an instinct not to fear them because you didn't see them as a threat.
No, I didn't.
And nobody had reported any attacks.
No, that's what amazed all of us flyers. We didn't see any attacks from them. Usually they'd come up. We were in formation. They'd have made a pass at us or something.
Right, of course, you would have been attacked at least.
Yeah.
And they were, did you ever see them move erratically or fast or anything? So they were just tracking along, followed you back, and then would they break off at some point?
Yeah, all of a sudden you look over where
And it's
they were,
gone.
and they're not there.
That's unbelievable. So,
I'm going to be honest with you. Towards the middle of my tour and on toward the end, this is me now. I'd come in and we'd be debriefed. And at the end of the debriefing, I could tell that I was crying. And I went back to the tent. And not only me, I found out my buddies and so forth would cry. And you lay there in the tent and cry, and you'd wish so much you could go home. But yeah, we did cry.
I can tell you something, Hank. The first time I got on a B-17,
Yeah.
which certainly was not in a combat scenario, I cried because I felt the paper-thin walls of that aircraft.
Oh yeah.
You know, as a little boy, flying Fortress, you know, it's so big in your head, and it's so powerful. I got in there and realized there was more protection for the ammunition than for the men.
Yeah.
And I started to think about Focke-Wulfs and ME-109s coming up with cannons,
Yeah.
and I started to cry because you really were sitting ducks.
We were.
I mean, even with the amount of armament that you had, it had to be terrifying.
It
And
was.
you know, so, but this is what bothers me, Hank, is that you're feeling at this point in your life like you didn't achieve something. My God, man,
Well,
you certainly have. You're what we look at. I'm talking about just your local friends We see you as a hero. You don't like that word,
Well,
but we do.
He thinks he's not a hero because he was scared.
Oh my
And
God,
that's the
man! You're
dumbest
just a
thing
human
I've
Not
ever
being.
human if you weren't scared.
You're just a human being,
I'm
Hank.
not
Yeah.
only scared.
Are you a Terminator, Hank?
I'll tell you, I was scared, yes, but there was something else bothering me. Can this no count high school graduate do the job? And before long, that high school graduate was leading 100, 200 planes.
You know that, Hank. So let me ask: why do you have a problem accepting the fact that you are achieved your goal?
Well, I
You
don't
really
know,
did,
I
because
don't know.
we're here talking to you years and years later now.
Yeah.
We know that what happened to you at that graduation affected your whole life.
Yes, it is.
And I can relate to that because I've been ridiculed in my time.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to imagine anybody would say that about you, knowing you now. I can't imagine why they would even.
I will say I haven't heard anybody do that.
Well, they
In fact,
sure as hell better not.
I've run into people who served, and when they found out who I was, they shook my hand, and it was altogether different. But boy, over there, I was afraid that I was going to get somebody killed because of my dumbness or anything like that. And I tried, and by God, well, for the last, I'd say, 25, 30 missions, I led the whole damn works. And I was only a captain.
That's extraordinary, Hank.
I was only a captain. Anytime one of the other officers led, it was usually, now and then a major, but it was usually a lieutenant colonel or a full colonel. But no, I led. And I got news for you. I tell you, those that I led were not milk runs, if you know what I mean.
You're not milk bones?
Milk
We're not
runs.
milk
They
runs.
weren't milk
Milk
runs.
Oh
They
no.
were tough missions.
Oh no. No, you were in the thick of it actually,
Yeah.
it sounds to me.
But they put me in fact, I know crews would say, I just heard we're going to hit so-and-so. I bet you're going to be leading. That was before I even knew I was going to lead.
Oh man.
And it was a rough mission. I don't know why. I think my Supreme Commander had something to do with it.
Well, I think that's why we're sitting here now.
I
That's extraordinary, Hank. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, you don't know much about me, I know,
Yeah.
but I've lived a lot of places.
yeah.
I've worked in the movie industry in California. I've been a lot of places. And my father was an amateur historian. He's very, very knowledgeable about World War II. So he was the inspiration originally, but the aviation was just a passion of mine anyway. But when I started doing the calendar, I started to get to meet
Yeah.
guys like you. And what I didn't know was the extraordinary people that are right here in my backyard.
Yeah.
The extraordinary people that are right here in my community.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful that I got the opportunity to see you and meet you and befriend you because, you know, one of my goals is to not let the public consciousness forget World War II because it's when we forget that
Yeah.
it will return. So it's important that we document you and
Yeah.
what your experiences were. I'm very anxious to read your book, and I'll get that back to you, no problem.
And there's no rush.
I was scared. Scared.
Anybody that says they weren't scared is lying, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Seeing your buddy get killed, my co-pilot, very handsome young guy. We were going over the target, and the flak was terrible. It throwed my airplane all over the place, and I was in showed it over like this, and I was trying to get it back when something hit me alongside the head. I looked over, my co-pilot's top of his head was blown off, and it hit me here, lower down.
That's so horrifying.
And I pulled my ball turret gunner out of the turret. None of the crew witnesses touched him, because he was one of us, and they didn't want to, so it's the pilot's job, so I pulled him out. And you know, he wasn't dead, but we thought he was. He just looked up at me, and he smiled. Honest, he smiled at me, and then his head got that way.
He was new on your crew,
Yeah.
so you didn't really know him that well.
No,
But it's even doubly sad almost because he never even had a chance to get to know you.
And I looked around when he passed out. He was small. I picked him up and held him. And I turned to walk out of the airplane. And when I did, there stood my crew and part of his crew at attention in full salute. There, as I carried him out, laid him down on the ground.
You didn't have the version of the B-17 that had a ball turret the whole time you were over there, did you?
Not at first.
Yeah. So some of your early missions, you didn't have a ball turret gunner because you didn't have that kind of an airplane.
Yeah. I got one in there. I'll never forget flying lead and having your colonel, full colonel, sitting over there, and you're sitting.
You're driving.
I'm driving.
Yeah, you bet.
And the thing that got me was when that one jumped out of the seat and laid on the floor.
It's cowardice kind of a little bit, but
Well,
considering
he admitted
you're,
it when he
yeah,
got up.
sure.
When he got up, he said, "I want to apologize for my actions," and I never said a word.
No.